Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. The cool night air was punctuated with the pulsing bass of music emanating from an unassuming suburban house. Inside, the laughter mixed with slurred chatter, and the clatter of billiard balls echoed through the rooms. A vibrant party unraveled, but underneath the superficial joy, dark intentions lurked. Initially, I thought I was just a fly caught in the throes of a night meant for forgotten regrets. Little did I know, I was about to step into a web of deceit that would change everything. At around 24 years old, I felt electricity from my recent breakup buzzing in my veins like a charged current. I longed to erase my memories of love lost, and evenings like this one offered the perfect escape. With friends surrounding me, the air thick with temptation and possibility, I felt invincible. But the sense of freedom was tinged with danger, an uncharted thrill that beckoned like a siren's song. As I played pool with a trio of friends, my focus was split between the game and the captivating hostess, who danced an exhilarating balance of challenge and allure. She was striking a whirlwind of confidence and seductive charm. Every time a shot was made, I could feel her gaze, bright and amused, flicker over us like a spotlight. The room was filled with laughter, joking jabs, and competition, but the tension was taut, buzzing just below the surface. "If you boys can't handle the heat, maybe you should sit this next game out," she teased, leaning provocatively as she challenged us to round after round. With each win, our playful banter escalated, and with it, I felt a magnetic pull toward her. Yet the game was more than just a test of skill. It was a dangerous game of seduction. Then came the defining moment when she leaned over the table, perhaps too far, revealing a glimpse of skin that sent wave after wave of awareness flooding through me. In a frenzy of adrenaline-driven laughter, the game transformed from innocent competition to raw desire. It was a simple distraction, playful and intoxicating, but embedded in that moment was the risk of blurring lines that would soon shatter my world. As our team swapped playful taunts, I slid behind her, feigning to help her with her shot. My body pressed against hers, igniting a fire within me that smoldered relentlessly. I whispered some stupid comment, attempting to keep the atmosphere light, but inside I was colliding with the seductive tension she had created around us. This was wrong, yet it felt so unbelievably right in that electrifying moment. It was the thrill I craved. Despite the presence of friends and onlookers, the energy sparked hot, invisible threads pulling us closer together until the tension became unbearable. When my friend Paul and her friend wandered off, leaving us isolated in the space, the potential for absolute chaos became alarmingly apparent. The youthful exuberance of a party turned into something more tantalizing, more dangerous. You know, if the bathroom in the hallway is occupied, there's another bathroom upstairs. She leaned closer and whispered, her voice ripe with intent. The playful glint in her eyes spoke volumes. I returned a knowing look. The rules of the night had changed dramatically. I followed her without a second thought, an invisible thrill guiding my footsteps as anticipation built within me like an incoming tide. As the bathroom door shut behind us, it was as if the whole world fell away. Removed from reality, I felt like a fleeting moment grasping at the clutches of destiny. The initial kiss was electric, charged with uninhibited desires that ignited each nerve ending, all rationality slipping into oblivion. I was consumed by a singular thought, a primal urge, as we intertwined in a fiery embrace. And in mere moments, the thrill of conquest overshadowed reality. Clothes became an unnecessary barrier. Off with her shirt, her bra, my own hesitation undone in the heat of the moment. With my hands enveloping her perky breasts, her response was instantaneous, an intoxicating moan that further sunk me deeper into want. There was an unspoken understanding between us. The thrill of what we were doing only fueled our desire. Yet the gravity of betrayal lingered at the edges of my mind like a dark cloud. Each touch ignited a blaze, and the mirrors captured reflections that begged for forgiveness. But what could I forgive when I was about to cross an oblivious line? This wasn't just a game. We were trading innocence for lust, a chaotically beautiful exchange destined for the bittersweet taste of regret. The familiar intimacy twisted around us, tethering me to an act that felt simultaneously liberating and wrong. No thoughts of home, no echoes of the past, just this fervent need, this shared moment of raw, unadulterated passion. I lost track of time as she sunk to her knees, sending waves of pleasure crashing over me as I let go of every dark thought riding on my shoulders. With the lights dim and the party outside continuing unaware, I lost myself completely. When reality hit, it slammed like a freight train. The fog of passion began to dissipate. The postcoital calm was soon punctured by the horrifying knowledge that I might be on the brink of making the gravest mistake of my life. We engaged in mindless chatter, hearts racing not from pleasure but fear of discovery. But the evening was far from over. A distant laughter reminded me of the very real risk pulsing outside this intimate bubble. I urged the intensity down, pulling back to savor the moment, but the pressure was mounting. This moment, raw and electric, had become entwined with an ever-growing sense of betrayal. What kind of person was I? Suddenly, in the between-seconds pause, as our breaths mingled, an image crashed over me. My ex, Sarah, the love I had thought was true, and how I had to my own disbelief betrayed her spirit. And yet here I was, consumed by an intoxication I could no longer justify. With our bodies spent yet minds racing, the tapes were turning a warped reality, slowly dawning on me. My heart had chosen this path, pursuing a fleeting rush at the cost of something much greater. Little did I realize the night was only the beginning of a much darker journey, one paved with regret, anger, and the thirst for revenge. As whispers and laughter began to seep into our isolated bubble, I felt the fog of temptation lift, replaced with the bitter taste of reality. This was my doing completed transaction of sin, and I would need a reckoning for these moments that intertwined my life with hers. In the chaos of lust-driven abandon, I had never anticipated the ways that betrayal could close in, forging the very chains I'd soon seek to shatter. The seed of revenge had been planted, its roots diving deep as the echoes of our betrayal resonated, both hers and mine. With the evening pressing forward and the threshold of bittersweet consequences blooming, the tension coiled tightly within me. I continued losing myself in the eyes of the hostess, unaware at that moment that the true game of revenge had only just begun. The explicit thrill of the night faded into the afterglow, but shadows loomed large in the corners of my mind. I stood there, grappling with the enormity of what I had just done. A betrayal dressed as a joyous indulgence, an escape that clouded my better judgment. My desire for revenge had taken root, a potent seed planted in the aftermath of fleeting euphoria. The air outside was thick with laughter, camaraderie, and all the things I craved yet felt irrevocably distant from. While others danced blissfully, I could only imagine how my ex, Sarah, would feel if she ever found out about this disaster. She, the one I had once vowed to cherish. But that didn't matter now. I had crossed a line from which there was no turning back. With memories of ecstasy lingering like a dark perfume, I returned to the loud party. It was then that I saw Sarah enter the party, her laughter slicing through the noise like a knife. She was radiant, her smile brightening the dimly lit space. For a moment, the air left my lungs. I turned my back, desperate to avoid her gaze. I had buried those feelings, convinced that my pursuit of pleasure would drown out the guilt, a dangerous gamble that felt close to crumbling. Yet, as I watched Sarah from the distance, I felt a riptide pulling me toward a reckoning. She approached, unaware of what had transpired under the dim glow of feigned happiness. "Hey," she beamed, enveloping me in a tight hug. The warmth of her body and the familiar scent of her hair made my heart ache. She was the embodiment of everything I had lost. Every moment I had spent locked in a battle for satisfaction now felt hollow, and my chest constricted with memories of our joyful days. "You look great," I said, but the words fell flat. Every beat of my heart echoed with guilt, a constant reminder that I had let down someone who didn't deserve it. I forced a smile, masking the whirlwind of emotions stirring within. And then there was Margot, like a predator lurking in the shadows. I could feel her assessing my every move from behind the bar. She wasn't satisfied with a fleeting night of passion, no. She had that glint in her eye that suggested an insatiable hunger for more. A dangerous game was unfolding, and I was wedged right in the middle of it. "Why don't you join me and my friends? We're about to do a shot." Sarah's cheerful voice broke my thoughts. Little did she know I was riding a tumultuous wave created by the shifting tides of betrayal. I glanced back at Margot, whose predatory gaze never wavered. Something about that look unnerved me, wrapping its claws around my heart in a tight embrace. I dismissed the feeling I had my own reckoning to face, and the shadows were just whispers in the night. As we crowded around the bar, laughter danced just out of reach, spinning into a forgotten world. Shots were poured, and as they slid down my throat, the alcohol infused me with a temporary warmth, insidiously beckoning me to forget. But even in that shroud of intoxication, the fragments of my betrayal loomed louder, and the reality of my double life began gnashing at my soul. A voice interrupted my spiral into guilt, coming from the very woman who had become my greatest mischief and perhaps my downfall. Margot drifted toward us, a sly smile carving her silenced intentions deep. "Jake, there you are! I was wondering if you'd come back for round 2. The atmosphere turned electric, the smiles shared morphing into something dangerously conspiratorial. I acknowledged Margot with a stiff nod, acutely aware of how her presence altered the air. Sarah turned to me, eyebrows arched in curiosity, oblivious to the tension coiling around us. "Who is this?" she asked, genuine interest paralleled by suspicion. "Just a friend from the party earlier," I stammered, redirecting the conversation. But Margot wasn't about to let me off the hook so easily. "Oh, we had so much fun, didn't we, Jake?" Her voice dripped with seduction, laced with a spry taunt that pried into the cracks of my discontent. In that moment, I envisioned the walls I was building crumbling around me, each flirtation and shared secret tearing further into the tapestry of betrayal I had woven. I felt exposed. People turned to us, the whispers of discontent and curiosity creeping closer, overtaking the laughter that used to fill this space. "We were really just playing pool," I muttered hastily, longing to banish her words into the ether and shield Sarah from the truth. But Margot had transitioned from a temporary escape into a calculating villain in my seduced fairy tale. "Pool? Or something much more playful?" Margot pressed, eyes glinting in the dim light, pulling everyone into her game of veiled deception. Every heartbeat echoed the realization that I was standing on a volcanic precipice, teetering dangerously close to a destructive eruption. The shared compatibility of betrayal simmered beneath the layers of laughter, energy slipping into something darker as we transitioned from a whirlwind night of revelry to an inevitable confrontation. "You know what?" I forced the words out, an act of resolve flipping over the unwanted anticipation hanging over us. "I think it's time for me to call it a night." I could see the confusion etched into Sarah's features, and yet the temptation lingered like sweet poison in the air. She leaned in closer, concern masking her perplexity. The fleeting warmth of her body urged me to stay, but I felt the impending doom in my gut. I needed distance from Margot, from the shadows of deceit filtering through the night, and from the entanglement of guilt threatening to engulf my very being. "Let me walk you to your car," Sarah insisted, sensing my unease. But the truth wrapped around my heart like a vice, and all I could see was the glimmer of uncertainty pervading my consciousness. As soon as we stepped outside, the night air clawed at my senses. Starry voids covered by tangled tree branches offered little comfort as I navigated the path lit by whispering shadows. I could hear her heels clicking behind me, ticking in time to the frantic thoughts racing through my mind. I had no idea what to say, how to explain the betrayal that was unraveling beneath the surface. "Jake?" Sarah's voice broke through, laced with concern. "What's wrong? You seem distant." I opened my mouth to speak, yet the words tangled in my throat. Betrayal had forged an invisible barrier of honesty I didn't know how to breach. I wanted to confess, wanted to lay bare the brokenness of deceit, but the moments slipped away like grains of sand. Inside the car, every breath felt heavy. The familiar smell of leather mingled with the memories of laughter, of plans shared, but my heart thudded in a chaotic rhythm, each beat a reminder of the life I had shattered by indulging in the hollow thrill of revenge. And finally, she turned to me, her eyes filled with apprehension and an underlying understanding. "Jake, please, talk to me. I can't stand this silence." The rift between us was expanding, and my mind raced, teetering on the edge of honesty. With Margot still lingering in the shadows, My heart fought against its better instincts. I owed her an explanation. But the truth was a ghost pulled from the recesses of my mind, threatening to envelop us both. We can't keep this up. I've lost myself in the ego-driven chaos, Sarah, I said, the truth tumbling out like shards of glass spilling dangerously on the floor. I felt exposed, raw against her glistening eyes. For a moment, she struggled to absorb my words. What do you mean? You deserve better than me than this. I've betrayed everything we stood for, and all it has done is drag me into deeper regrets. I can't let myself hurt you like that anymore. The air between us crackled with tension as realization dawned. Uncertainty danced in her eyes, the flicker of betrayal mirrored in my own. Her lips parted in disbelief, and in the surrounding silence, the wounds of secrets grew increasingly apparent. I saw you with her just before I came in. You were laughing, smiling, like it was all a game. How can I believe this isn't who you are? My heart sank into my stomach, a sinking void carving through me. No, I swear it's not like that. I got caught up. I crossed a line I didn't even realize was there until it was too late. Tears brimmed in her eyes as the ground began to feel unfathomably unstable beneath me. I had let the taste of betrayal seep too deep, and now the price was a scalding reality manifesting before me. I wanted to be free, I thought. I thought I could escape the weight of our past by indulging in new pleasure. But that was a lie that took me down a dark path, and now I'm lost. Sarah, I never wanted to hurt you. With a shuddering breath, she pulled away from me, the emotion swirling in her eyes, crystallizing into heartbreak. Maybe you were never worth fighting for in the first place. Perhaps it was just easier to pretend we could play this game. But Jake, with her or without her, you chose this, and you chose wrong. The words stung with a duality of pain and truth. I was standing on a precipice filled with the weight of my decisions, and soon reality would tumble down in a mess of shards. I strained to hold back the wave of despair crashing over me as she stepped back, closing herself off. The icy distance a bitter reminder of what betrayal had wrought. I can't do this, she whispered, eyes glistening as she turned away, leaving me with the devastation of the memories I had rendered to dust. The finality struck me hard, every choice made in the frenzy of a party now manifested into irreversible loss. In that moment of heartache, guilt clung to me like a shroud, and amid the heartache, I remembered Margot still waiting in the shadows. Her malevolent aura looming heavily over my shattered psyche. I felt her gaze boring into me even from a distance, the predator ready to strike at the heart of my newly shattered world. Dark anticipation thrummed beneath the surface, growing visible as Margot approached, her lustful intentions hidden beneath the veneer of innocence. She sauntered closer with a cat-like grace that dripped with the promise of something sinister. "You okay up there, Jake?" Margot asked, her voice smooth and soft, but laced with a chilling undercurrent. I stared at her. The abruptness of a dark choice pulsed through me. It wasn't simply the allure of the moment that attracted me. It was the visceral nature of retribution. I had lost everything of value. A heart strung along with reckless play, and suddenly an idea kindled in my chest. Every moment of betrayal coiled tighter around my heart, crystallization steering toward an irreversible course. Revenge could become my only solace. And again, Margot leaned into conspiratorial whispers, her voice edging against my ears with a sweet promise to fill the void left by the agony of honesty. I could almost hear the sirens sing their seduction song. The strands of betrayal tugged at my heart, until a dark idea took form. With reckless intentions rising within me, I stepped toward Margot with a newfound resolve, an anger fueled by the shattering of everything I once cherished. I needed her to understand the depths of my pain, and I was damned if I would let betrayal shape the memory of this night any further. She was as guilty as I, perhaps more, and it was time to allow that dark justice to unfurl. We're going to take this further, Margot. This isn't just a one-night encounter. I want to reignite this fire, and we'll do it in a way that unravels the past you've hidden from all of us." The slight smile on her lips widened to something far more sinister, a mirth that danced within her eyes. "Oh, I thought you'd never ask. Let's make some noise then, shall we?" She beckoned me close, her whispers reverberating through me like a siren's call, daring me to step deeper into the abyss we had begun to cultivate. From that moment forward, our actions spun, plotting a treacherous scheme of revenge. Thoughts of embellishing chaos surged into angry ideas, final straws to make Sarah feel the full force of betrayal. But how? With each whispered plan, the rush of adrenaline surged. There would be no standing by as my heart lay bare. Days turned to weeks, calculations fueling my hunger. My enemies, the betrayal, only sought to dig deeper as I began to transform subtle approaches, intertwining their fates with my own dark narrative. It began on social media, posts crafted to evoke jealousy and doubt. Each message I sent further sealed Margot into this web, entwined with misguided fantasies that would inevitably lead to chaos. I watched as suspicions began to whirl, and the thrill of that mounting anger charged through me as I began to weave my bitter tapestry. Every laugh shared with Margot, any time I feigned interest, the threads of betrayal pulled tighter across both of our hearts, echoing through lunch breaks and late-night teams. Slowly but surely, we began our campaign of havoc, one darkened heart at a time. As Margot's laughter entwined dangerously with my home life, I felt satisfaction rise. Yet with every passing moment, Sarah's heartache punctuated my thoughts. I felt a paradox sharpen beneath layers of excitement. Even vengeance awakened questions I could no longer ignore. And then, as our plans entwined further, the day of explosion lurked just around the corner, promising implications coiling like serrated shadows hovering on the cusp of my heart. The fireworks would erupt like a wicked blaze, and the night would encapsulate betrayal's final act. This was merely the beginning of a calculated storm, and I was sickly anticipating the wreckage it would reveal. When the day came, the atmosphere buzzed with a palpable tension. Secrets hid within misplaced liveliness. Guests crowded into the house for a festivity, a masquerade of joy masking the deceit beneath. Zara, ever unknowing, danced fluttering along the edges, electric laughter spattering against the air like sweet incense. But beneath that soft facade lay that aquifer of rage just waiting for the dam to burst. "Let's make this one legendary, shall we?" Margot's voice vibrated low alongside mine amid the chaos, a sensuous urging to kick off the show. That night danced sharp with anticipation, and I felt the duel of our mysterious schemes collide, seeking thickets that would ultimately untangle our darkest intentions. Underneath swirling conversations, with drinks flowing freely, the moment approached. My heart raced, my resolve solidly faced Margot, who glimmered with potential chaos. It was time to pull the trigger and unveil this dark charade. With deliberate steps into the throng of guests, I unleashed the unthinkable, a simple twist that would spin our vibrant game of danger into searing paths of irreversible destruction. And as everything joined together in a whirling dark frenzy, I stepped back, determined to savor the dark satisfaction of each broken smile, the final shattering of trust. Finally, I would utter those killer sentiments, words heavy with the bittersweet taste of revenge as they lingered in the air. It wouldn't be long now, I reassured myself as I leaned toward Margot and whispered, "Let's show them that betrayal never feels quite as good as the company it keeps." Two souls entwined in betrayal tonight, we crossed that final threshold. This would culminate in the ultimate chaos, and I would rise from the ruins, savoring every moment of devastation. As curtains closed in silent anticipation, I prepared to deliver the final blow. This would solidify our reign of chaotic partners forever. As echoes of laughter faded, and the damn train wreck prepared to unfurl, the only thing echoing within me was the vengeance that had driven this story all along, letting every moment of heartfelt chaos bubble to the surface. Exposing us all to the surface. Exposing us all to the surface. Bitter reckoning that lay ahead. And then, just before invoking that moment of truth, I would become the catalyst of dishonor, letting Margot taste the remnants of retribution she craved. It was garden party elegance wrapped in betrayal. Every shared laugh weighted with the knowledge of impending doom. I felt that promise of chaos escalating, fueling the fire within me that had been smoldering for far too long. To see Sarah's face when everything crumbled would be the ultimate reward, and it was so close I could almost see it. "Hey, everyone, how about a toast?" I called, my voice cutting through the chatter, lacing the atmosphere with the anticipation of betrayal and tension. All eyes turned, curiosity peaked as I glanced at Margot, fleeting danger glinting in her eyes. "To new beginnings?" I proclaimed, raising my glass while my heart raced with the impending fallout that was to unfold. To new beginnings, because this one was about to end in chaos. The glasses clinked, a hollow sound amid the growing silence, and I could feel the trap tightening, the dance of consequences edging closer. The laughter, the revelry, it all blurred into something malicious in that moment. With a sly smirk, I passed Sarah a knowing glance, half-hearted and fierce, while the shadows shifted around me. Margot stepped closer, but with every intimate bite part of me longed to fall and lose every ounce of control. Dark deeds tend to manifest beautifully, I thought, savoring every beat of energy swirling around us. The tension escalated. It was as though the world was in a languid dance, unaware that every move was meticulously orchestrated chaos awaiting its climax. Then came the moment the music shifted, the lights dimmed, laughter drowned out, and the room buzzed with uncertainty and anticipation. I could feel the chaos wrapping around me, snug and promising. I was the puppet master now, the instigator of calamity, still waiting to pull the strings. Suddenly, I seized my chance. It's been such a crazy night, hasn't it, folks? All this fun, but I found something that bleeds into the morose and dreadful. A ripple of confusion skimmed across the crowd, and just as they leaned in, I continued. While some may find solace in betrayal just like I did tonight, others by mere coincidence fall by the wayside. Shares of laughter hushed and muttered. The room now felt electric with tension, and just then, I turned fully towards Sarah, my heart caught mid-beat. "Sarah!" I shouted across the room, baiting every ear as the laughter transformed into whispers. "Do you want to know what should really be celebrated tonight?" The room turned, the music faded to silence. Revelations danced on the air, and as Margot's focus shifted toward me, I could feel her pulse quicken. It was time to expose the ugly truths we had planted. "It's the fact that your precious Jake here was too busy finding comfort in a stranger's embrace, instead of taking a moment to realize what he was losing." Gasps echoed throughout the space, discontent whirling into scandal. Every moment stretched into fragments as everything teetered dangerously. And as Sarah's eyes widened, I reveled in the chaos I had orchestrated. Broken whispers, sharp remarks filled the void. There it was, a catharsis lingering in the air, a wild sound of nausea weaving between culpability and secrets, now laid bare. "See, Sarah, this was the end you deserved for standing by my side," I added venomously, stepping back to observe their expressions shift, undulating with a devious pleasure only revenge could coax. Margot's laughter chased the shadows, toxic and electric. "Let's make sure this one never forgets." There it was, the final detail unfolding, seeping into the fractures of the night. I had orchestrated this stain, a diabolical revenge painted against a darker canvas, and there was no undoing the chaos erupting in front of me. Gone were the pretenses, twisted now into calamity. And amid the ruckus, I turned my attention fully to Sarah's face, hoping to see the shock crawl into reality. There it was, woven into the silence in the depths of her despair. I found my power echoing against the walls, wrapped in the consequences of betrayal, woven tightly. "Nobody gets to play the victim anymore, right?" I chuckled, adrenaline coursing through my veins like fire. "Moments like these shouldn't be swept under the rug. Cheating deserves damage's full wrath," I declared, my voice reverberating with power, while her gaze locked, realization crashing down upon her like a thunderous storm. The chaos that choked the atmosphere buzzed violently, pregnant with possibilities. There was no backing down, no escape. The truth was a weapon, and no one would be spared from its piercing edge. "Your crime, Margot," I proclaimed, locking eyes with her, "is nothing compared to what you've pulled me into with your corrupted hands." The people around us rallied with uncertain murmurs, confusion morphing into anticipation, and I could feel the atmosphere shift again. tightly strung as I stepped closer into Margot's grasp. A smirk threaded on her lips, each word escalating, tension a spark igniting the inferno surrounding me. In a dark twist it hit me. None of us were innocent. We were spun from the cloth of betrayal, but tonight would be a reckoning. I would take every second and transform this reality into something powerful. An audience gasped. Accusations bubbled into the air, bitterness thrumming through every heart seeking reprisal. Would we all dissolve into the night? Or could this twisted culmination of chaos spur clarity? You touched what had already been burned. The new desires overshadowed the real ones. And for what reason, Margot? I asked, smiling maliciously as the remnants of our bonds hung like tatters in the air between us. But now it was my pleasure to watch her crumble. This night would be the tapestry upon which vindication could be spun, a complete overhaul fueled by anger hidden between every laugh we had shared in pursuit. Tonight, we unravel, my dear Margot. Tonight is the night you'll wish you never chose this path. There's no escape from retribution. I nearly purred, each word spinning like silk, wrapping around her strength and ripping the foundation from beneath. Suddenly, the stench of betrayal strangled the vibrant mask we wore, and inside that whirlwind of pain, I witnessed the devastation rippling around among them like a wave, submerging every player in this tragic game. Every pair of eyes turned toward me, the room suspended in insistent breath, a culmination so rich with agony and pleasure that I couldn't help but relish its remnants. Against all reason, I spun the story tighter with one final verbal dagger, aimed to wound deeply and fatally. It was bad enough to discard my heart and act unfathomably toxic, but dragging me into chaos only to be outdone by your own deceptions. Some call it irony, but it's poetic justice. The laughter faded, leaving only whispers of bewilderment echoing in this social chasm. Between them, I knew destruction ignited my resolve. The applause for darkness roared like thunder, fueling a raging storm that thirsted for more retribution. Let's end this charade, shall we? I declared, locking onto Margot's gaze, a collision of our shared guilt spilling across the battlefield of betrayal, unleashed in plain sight. Moments later, as the music crashed back into place and the crowd held its breath, I delivered the final blow that caged us all in the mortar of our sins. Let's drag tonight into the light of day and watch it turn to ash. The truth outshines all disguise, while we all shall taste the bitterness of betrayal's reckoning, I shouted, feeling the vibration of power within every pulse across the room. Gasps were audible. Sarah turned pale, the shadow of horrified realization spooning flesh with disbelief with every word, and then, filling every crevice with chaos, a sinister undertow, the hilt of revenge grasped by my own hands, drew tightly, irrevocably entangled within our bitter tapestry. For I had become the hand of righteous wrath, my own balance steeped in calamity concerning the very heart once tender. Each unforgiving gaze poured into me, while Sarah finally saw through shadows, obscured by naive notions of strong bonds. I grinned. It was a story now on full display, but no, there would be no soft resolution. Margot's fate was sealed among the daggers I had unleashed, and as I grinned I connected the dots, transforming us all into living vignettes against the backdrop of betrayal and twisted love finally laid bare. The night culminated in dark catharsis like a finely woven tapestry, embracing life's harsh reality. I drew in the intensity, magnifying it by unseen forces. It could never happen again. I would not let it. There was no softness waiting anymore, not among the wreck, the darkness flowing within. As the finale reached full crescendo, I delivered my final line, slow and deliberate, a palpable tension hung in the air of ill intentions, opening every heart to the truth's flame. The end of your game, Margot, is merely the beginning of your downfall. You'll wish I never stumbled upon your filthy lies. I leaned closer to her, weaving my solutions with every whispered silver sharp edge that punctuated the air. In this cul-de-sac of lies, I echoed a past where betrayal birthed something dark and palpable. Still, I uncoiled from the chains of deceit that once bound me here. Every laugh faded into echoes of tragedy, until with one last smirk, I knew the wound could never heal nor reconcile as the crowd unraveled around us. And with that, I sealed Margot's fate, and my heart tucked safely into the keen dismissal of fractured love and betrayed friendships that had led to this moment. It was irrevocable now, my darkness unveiled forevermore. No romantic lineage nor passage could assemble this wreckage again. But through my triumph came a newfound certainty and bliss, a morose charm reshaped by the acrid taste of betrayal and revenge against those who crossed these lines tonight. Love may have vanished in the embers beneath, but vengeance would reign eternal, stitched into the fabric of our entwined fates, forged through tumult, regret, and heartache. So I embraced the chaos as it enveloped not just Margot, but my once idyllic innocence. Terror now merely an afterthought among those who danced in sepulchres of loss. Goodbye, Margot. Your days of weaving deceit end here tonight, and your own web shall devour you. You who dared to change the rules without consulting the player. With horror mirrored in their looks, I felt a sense of vindication envelop me, shaped through fleeting shadows. It was too late for reconciliation, and with every word painted darkly across the canvas of chaos, I breathed life back into the bitterness ignited beneath each moment spent wrapped in darkness. Tonight, I stood as the architect of my revenge, every sneer marking another deliverance lingering purposefully against our hearts, indelibly woven across the tapestry gifted to each and every soul present. Our final act played out against the strings of destiny. It was time to mark the spotlight, and I would deliver each moment as it flew past me, full of shadows, casting a reflection upon those left behind as they dropped into despair, not once but thrice entwined between the agony spilled so generously before us. The finale buried within echoes, aplenty tunneled perhaps into memories long forgotten like phantoms in broad daylight. And once more, with every ounce of closure spilled into the air, I would bid farewell to this twisted masquerade and embrace the ash that filled my spirit once more. I reveled in it for one final moment, just as the stars beneath our skin echoed layers of unspeakable truths, breathing their fury around the ashes of discontent, leaving no room for amends, only the embers of vengeance, ringing their final toll atop my heart as I blurred the lines of shadows and light forevermore. Betrayal had been my muse, manipulation my dance partner, and from this I would rise as I etched my signature of revenge into epics, untamed, a legacy steeped in vengeance, forever written in the fates entwined. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like.